Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining the NUS Student Exchange Talk. My name is Jacob O'Quinn, and I am the manager here at the National University of Singapore. Just a bit of background about myself. I'm actually from the US originally and did my undergrad at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and did an exchange here at NUS during my undergrad years. So hopefully you'll find this presentation interesting and consider an exchange to NUS very soon. Okay, so Singapore is known as the Little Red Dot, and it has that nickname for a very good reason. It's actually quite a compact island. So for a US reference, the size of Singapore is about 20% the size of Rhode Island, so it's very small. Traveling from East Coast to West Coast will take you about 1 hour if you're driving, and about an hour and a half if you are taking public transportation. Singapore is 1 degree above the equator, so that does mean that it's going to be very hot and very humid all year long. Our average temperatures are around 30 degrees Celsius or about 88 degrees Fahrenheit, and that would be year-round temperatures. So do prepare for a hot semester if you join us here in Singapore. We imagine students have quite a variety of reasons for why they are considering study abroad and why Singapore specifically, but just some things that kind of set Singapore apart. It is one of the world's most competitive economies, so I think students are naturally interested in spending a semester here. I was an economics major, so I just found the Singapore story very interesting and inspiring, just to see how much the country has grown with virtually no natural resources. So just kind of seeing how business is done here has been very enlightening for me. It is an English-speaking destination, so Singapore does have four official languages. So you will hear announcements on the trains and buses in four different languages, but English is the working language, so business and education are conducted in English, so that will not be a barrier for English-speaking students. It is one of the world's safest cities, so that can be very reassuring as students kind of decide where to study abroad. Singapore is regarded as being one of the safest places in the world. Lastly, it does have a very seamless and efficient public transportation system, so it's very easy to get around the island. Everything is very connected, so I think students really do appreciate that ease of travel while they're here in Singapore. So I think that one thing that is quite surprising to visitors is just how green Singapore is. I think when people first hear about such a small island with nearly 6 million people living here, they automatically assume that it's going to be a lot of concrete and glass. But I think Singapore has done an incredible job of kind of mixing in these green spaces in an otherwise kind of densely packed environment. So I think it does give you that breathing room or just that kind of natural setting that you wouldn't really expect in such a largely densely packed city. One thing that I do want to highlight on the left-hand side, the middle photo, that's actually a photo of our School of Design and Environment. So even these green spaces kind of coexist with us on campus life as well. So it's a really green city to be in, and I think a lot of visitors find that surprising. Another thing that people highlight is the food. So the food is incredible in Singapore. As we know, Singapore is a melting pot of many different cultures around the region, and that translates nicely to lots of dishes, lots of fusion dishes for students to try. So I think as a pro tip, using food as a way to get to know Singapore and even Singaporeans is a great kind of avenue or approach. So yeah, you'll no doubt have a lot of fun exploring all of the different restaurants and hawker centers or food courts across the island. Okay, so now that we have introduced Singapore overall, we'll kind of dive right into the university. So the National University was established in 1905 as a medical school, and it has since grown into a comprehensive university with 17 schools and faculties over its 115-year history. So NUS is located kind of in the center west region of the country. We're about 35 minutes from the city if you're using public transportation, and we are located right on a mass rapid transit MRT line or kind of the subway system. We are about 30 minutes from the airport if you are taking a taxi. If you're taking the MRT or the train, it would be about an hour, maybe hour and 20 minutes tops for your journey to the airport. So still quite an accessible campus. I would say you kind of get the best of both worlds because you are far enough away from the city to where you really feel like you have this proper campus experience, but then you're right on the MRT line. So if you want to pop into the city or go to the airport for some of your travels, it's accessible in that regard as well. In terms of campus life, so Kent Ridge is the heart of all the action on campus, and here we've shown some photos from exchange students highlighting some of their favorite amenities on campus, be it the infinity pool at University Town or the bubble tea at Faculty of Science. So these are just kind of a snapshot of what you can expect on campus. On the left-hand side is some of the more practical or kind of logistical elements of exchange and what can be found on campus from the libraries and sports centers to the convenience stores and banks. One thing I will highlight is the University Health Center, which would be covered under your health insurance. So you would just need to pay a small copay and you could visit one of the doctors at UHC during your time with us. Lastly would be that internal bus shuttle that connects all different aspects of campus. So it's easy to just catch that free shuttle to go to class and then back to your residence. In terms of campus life, I think a lot of exchange students do understandably want to travel while they're in Singapore or Southeast Asia, but the best way to really get involved locally would be to join some of the clubs and societies that the university offers. So we do have over 200 student organizations to choose from, and those could range from arts and culture-based programs, sports, community service, interest groups. So we have a welcome party every semester and a lot of the reps from the different clubs and societies will come down and have booths. And it's a great way for you as you start your journey in Singapore to really get involved on campus. I think it's the best way to meet locals and to really understand kind of local culture, campus culture while you're here. So I highly encourage students to kind of strike a balance between their external travels and what they do on campus to really have a special, memorable semester at NUS. In terms of specific events that are specific for exchange students, so we have our peer advising leaders, the PALs, as we call them, and they work on a wide range of events throughout the academic year to welcome students. And the best thing about this program is they actually run the same events, or more or less the same events every semester. So it doesn't matter if you're joining us in the fall or the spring. You will have a welcome party, you'll have a farewell party. We take students dragon boating every semester, so that would be at Kallang. It's kind of a river that runs right near the skyline, so you can actually see it here on the left. So if the sky is beautiful like that day, that is what you can experience during that event. We also have a global lounge, so depending on the semester, we'll do different kind of festivities that coincide with the holidays. So if you're here in the spring, you can take part in our Chinese New Year festival. The fall, we'll kind of do things for Deepavali or National Day, things that happen in the kind of second half of the year. In terms of the student exchange program, so we'll dive a little bit more specifically into exchange and what it means. So NUS is a global university. It's comprehensive. Things are taught in English, except for foreign language modules, of course. So with this, it's quite a unique opportunity for you to be able to study a wide variety of subjects. Many of them have a very Asian focus. So since we're in the heart of Asia, a lot of our sciences and our humanities will focus on things from an Asian or even a Southeast Asian perspective. So I feel like that's a very unique opportunity for you to be able to take your core courses from a very different perspective in English. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity if you are considering an exchange. We have over 2,000 exchange students every academic year, so rest assured you will not be alone. Just in the US alone, we have over 50 partners, so there'll be lots of students from US institutions as well as I think around 50 other countries that we partner with. So a really great opportunity to meet both local as well as international students while you're here. Tuition fee waiver, so I put this in there just to kind of um, go over what that means. So you will continue to pay your tuition at your home institution, and then you will not have to pay tuition here at NUS. There will be some fees like your student fee, your health fee, kind of non-academic fees that would be applicable for your exchange. So just note that the tuition fee waiver only applies for your actual tuition fees. Other fees will be subject to what they are and paid by the student. Our exchange with College of William and Mary is what we consider a university-wide exchange arrangement. So that means you're actually able to take modules or courses from the 5 schools or faculties listed there at the top. So that would include our arts and social sciences, engineering, science, computing, and design and environment. So those 5 would be what's applicable to exchange students coming from the College of William and Mary. The ones on the bottom, those are our Business Law and University Scholars Program or our Honors College. Those are usually reserved for institutions that have a school-specific agreement. So those would not be applicable to what we have with College of William and Mary. So as you choose your modules, please make sure that you're choosing those from the 5 at the top there. And then you would be eligible for courses as long as you meet the prerequisites and of course that there's availability in the course that you would like. In terms of modules, so students will take between 3 to 5 modules or courses per semester. 3 is the minimum to be considered a full-time student and therefore eligible for a student visa. 5 is the maximum to take. We do encourage students to take between 3 to 4 modules, however, just because you're already adjusting to quite a lot of new things, a new country, a new university. So we think 3 to 4 modules tend to be best. But please check with your home institution and make sure that you are taking the required number of modules on their end as well. In terms of scheduling, our modules do follow a lecture tutorial system with lectures being held once a week and then tutorials being held either weekly or bi-weekly depending on the module itself. In terms of the list of modules, this list on the right-hand side, that link doesn't change, so you can check that list as early as today and kind of start mapping out what you would like to take. We do encourage you to check the list closer to the day that you apply, just because some changes can occur. Please also check the list of restricted modules, just to make sure that you are not indicating any restricted modules on your actual application. Lastly, there's a link here for the timetable builder that can help you kind of get an idea of what your schedule would look like based on the combination of courses that you are hoping to take. In terms of housing options, we actually have 3 different options to choose from. And so the first would be the halls of residences. There are 7 halls scattered throughout campus. These are rather tight-knit communities. They have lots of events and activities throughout the semester. And I would say these are great places to live if you want to really get to know locals and kind of the campus culture. They do have a meal plan and single rooms. The residential colleges are actually integrated academic and residential experiences where students live together and learn together. They take modules together. They have a meal plan as well, which hopefully fosters some of that conversation and discussion over meals. They also have single rooms that are either apartment or corridor style. Lastly would be the student residences, which are these large housing complexes. That's actually University Town residences featured there. These are the most independent style living where people kind of come and go as they please and fewer activities throughout the semester compared to the halls or even the RCs. In terms of estimated budgets, so Singapore has quite a reputation for being an expensive city. So I think it's very interesting to qualify that during this presentation. So in those comparisons across different cities or countries, they're often looking at a basket of goods, and often that includes cars and property prices. Those are really the 2 things that drive up Singapore's cost of living, cars and condos. So if you're not planning to buy either of those during your semester, you should be able to have a very affordable exchange with us. So this is just a breakdown. All of these are in US dollars. This is just a monthly breakdown of expenses. If you're staying on campus, if you're eating local food, if you're taking public transportation, it can actually be quite an affordable destination. Even in my own experience coming from Chapel Hill and spending a semester here, I found it comparable, if not even cheaper, to stay here rather than North Carolina for one semester. So take those headlines that say Singapore is a very expensive city with a pinch of salt and do a little bit of research in terms of what your actual day-to-day expenditure would be to kind of get a bit more information about whether or not this is a good destination for you. In terms of next steps, this is a slide just to kind of put things into perspective. So our application deadlines for semester one or the fall semester is going to be 15th of April every year, and for semester two or the spring, that's going to be 1st of October. Um, I would say please check with your home institution study abroad advisor because these are NUS deadlines, and your university will no doubt have different deadlines that you'll need to follow. So the first step, if you are interested in exchange at NUS, would be to check with your home university's advisor. Um, a pro tip, please save your electives for your exchange. That really does give you a lot of flexibility in what you can take. It also gives you that freedom to take some classes that wouldn't be offered at your home institution. So again, you can kind of learn something different. Um, from a totally unique perspective, kind of being here in the heart of Asia. So I've included some useful resources down at the bottom. So that would be the Global Relations Office main page for incoming exchange students, our info sheet and info guide. So those can be great resources as you plan your presentation or your exchange rather. Okay, so just to kind of address the major situation going on in the world today, this slide is really to highlight information on COVID-19 and what the university is doing in its fight against the pandemic. We know that the situation changes very quickly, so a lot of this advice is based on what we are doing for fall 2020. But again, things change very quickly, so I would actually like to start with the resources on the right-hand side. So I encourage students to check all three of these to find out the latest advice from NUS, as well as the second link is for the Singapore Immigration and Checkpoints Authority. So that link would give you the latest border control measures. So that would update you on whether or not student visas are being issued, whether or not there's any entry restrictions for you to arrive in Singapore, and if there's any self-isolation or quarantine um, time that's required after you arrive. So those three links will be very important as you plan your exchange with us. But just to go over some of the fall 2020 measures, campus has been zoned into three different zones. That way students can limit their kind of travel around campus, and based on your major, you're assigned to a different zone, and that will hopefully help cut down on the number of people kind of crossing paths throughout the semester. All classes that are more than 50 students have automatically gone online, and that is just across the board. Um, if it's a class that requires labs or studio space, those would be the ones that are being prioritized for in-person lessons at the moment. In terms of a nationwide initiative, there's a check-in, check-out system that the entire nation uses. It's very easy. You just scan the QR code with your smartphone, and you check in and check out of the restaurant or building that you're going into. So NUS has naturally subscribed to this as well. So as you enter the buildings, you check in and check out. And this is really just for an effort in helping to ease the contact tracing if there were to be any kind of outbreak during the semester. In terms of daily temperature taking, so there's an app for that as well. NUS has created an app where you log in every morning and evening to declare your temperature. And it's very important if you are going to campus that you declare your first temperature of the day before you actually arrive on campus. So that's to ensure you don't have any active symptoms before actually going to campus and interacting with other people. In terms of access to health services and swab testing, this is possible. So the latest advice is any person over 14 who has any symptoms of an acute respiratory infection will automatically be tested. So testing is widely available, and so that is not going to be an issue. In terms of mandatory mask wearing, this is another nationwide initiative or requirement, and all persons are required to wear masks once they're outside of their own residence. So that is still in effect, and so um, we do encourage students to continue to look at these resources and just find out the latest advice before traveling, just because the situation does change very, very quickly. And to not end things on a COVID note, we did want to highlight that NUS has actually been exchanging students for more than 20 years, and that over those 2 decades, we've actually welcomed more than 20,000 exchange students. So we do encourage you to consider an exchange to NUS and to be part of the NUS family. One last thing I want to highlight is a recent video from an exchange student who kind of chronicled what a day in the life of an exchange student is like at NUS. So please check that out if you are interested, and hopefully that will give you some more information from the student's perspective. And with that, we hope to see you in Singapore very soon. Thank you.